When the Marvels dropped its extreme post-credits scene and revealed the long-standing rumour of Kelsey Grammer's return to be true, I was ecstatic. But as I detailed in my Beast video, I was a little saddened to see that the returning blue mutant was now entirely CGI. They got it so right in X-Men The Last Stand, and even though Grammer is back in the role, it doesn't really feel like a similar iteration. I do understand that maybe Grammer is too old to do the makeup chair for 6 hours plus every day, and on the plus side, Beast did look more comic book accurate and burly, but 9 times out of 10, if you can do it practical, it looks and feels way better. But hey, I said 9 out of 10 times, right?
Read off the guest list.
So who's a character, an X-Men character that appeared in the same movie even, that would have been so much better rendered in CGI rather than practical?
If he builds any momentum, no object can stop him.
How fascinating.
Yep, Juggernaut first appeared in a practical manner and was later replaced by a CGI duplicate.
Oh my god! Juggernaut!
But in this instance, it was a top to bottom upgrade. The goated Juggernaut is clearly the Deadpool 2 variant for several reasons I'm going to break down, but I also want to go over how we got there, the swing and a miss of The Last Stand,
You can let me out of here, I need a pee.
and the redeeming aspects of the character in the franchise. What do you think? Did you enjoy Last Stand Kane Marco? Was the Deadpool 2 version better? Against all the odds, did you prefer his role in X3 over DP2? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like X-Men videos, then please subscribe with notification bells on, and check out my X-Men playlist.
I don't mean right now.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
That is such a Juggernaut thing to say.
So after Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike, the third X-Men movie went for more of a brawler route with its heavy in Juggernaut. Released from prison by Magneto, he joins their gang with a cheesy line and commits on the basis that they both have dorky helmets. There's not much nuance to old Juggy here, and even in BTS, Vinnie Jones admitted that all Kane Marco wants to do is find the next battle. At least he's not nearly as mute as the last two heavies. In terms of the look, I don't think the fake muscles look that bad. You can kind of tell it's a muscle suit at times, but in all fairness, it does look pretty convincing, and the design of the costume hides it well. Plus, his status as a kind of comic relief henchman means the goofiness of this muscle suit works.
It's a dorky looking helmet. What's it for?
Keeps my face pretty.
It just doesn't feel like he's the comic book Juggernaut in stature or power. Maybe we could have all forgiven this fact if the characterization was better. Vinnie Jones was clearly just told to bellow all of his lines.
Here's Juggy.
And there's not much difference between his performance in this and his performance in Eurotrip.
Hey lads! Let's give this Nancy a fucking good kicking! Come on lads! It's going off! Yeah!
Right out of the gate, one incredibly disappointing thing about this iteration is that he's a mutant. In spite of being a core X-Men villain, Juggernaut's powers are famously mystical. It works because in spite of having a familial connection to Xavier, he is as far removed from his plight as possible. He was not born a mutant, with all the power and curses that comes with. He sought out and gained his powers for nefarious purposes. He has no interest in helping people like Xavier. He is his polar opposite, a manifestation of pure might in contrast to his big brain.
Kinky.
And that of course is the other weird thing. There's not one reference to him being the stepbrother of Charles Xavier. It would have been an obvious way to bring the character into the trilogy, and it's even weirder considering the character is present for Charles's demise. The first one anyway.
I'm sorry, Rory, but you just died.
Making the character a mutant in a stripped back time for comic book movies makes sense. It would have been a lot to introduce magic alongside all the other things going on in X3. Hell, they didn't even want to delve into aliens and the cosmos when dealing with the Phoenix.
Dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
This was before cinematic universes and the amalgamation of all corners of the superhero pantheon. However, refusing to make mention of the Xavier connection just leaves so much juicy story real estate off the table. It could have given Juggy some more depth beyond just being another one-dimensional Magneto henchman.
I heard your claws can cut through anything. Want to take a shot?
Want to take a shot?
I'm going to go across the street and get you some orange sherbet.
The fact that they cast a British guy makes it even more maddening. Charles and Kane are both American in the comics, but here the movies matched up their nationalities, only to forego any kind of dynamic.
Take your mitts off them boys!
Having bashed him for his lack of Juggernaut power, Last Stand K Marco does, in fairness, beat the absolute crap out of Wolverine. I went back and watched the Grey House attack scene, and Logan gets like one single hit in. It's honestly pathetic. I get that you want to make your bad guys menacing, but in this scene it just makes Wolverine look utterly outclassed to an embarrassing degree. The Lady Deathstrike fight in X2 was a good balance of showing Wolverine getting his ass kicked while still throwing hands and ultimately winning. In terms of fighting this Chrome Dome, live action Logan has a pitiful record. There's actually a deleted moment from the movie where Wolverine gets the upper hand, stabbing his claws into Juggy's helmet and getting Storm to channel her lightning through his adamantium and into Kane, knocking him out. Not only did this show Logan using his battle IQ to best Juggernaut, it meant he didn't get quite so wrecked.
Storm!
This should have stayed in the movie. After seeing Wolverine get absolutely pwned, I was braced for part 2, the rematch, in the finale. And it never came. Juggernaut doesn't actually engage with another X-Man for the rest of the movie, and instead charges right past them at Magneto's orders to snatch Leitch, the young mutant who is the source of the cure. Instead of a Wolverine rematch, he has a chase sequence with Kitty Pryde. I actually think pairing up Juggernaut, the guy who can smash through any obstacle, with Kitty, the girl who can phase through any obstacle, is a pretty cool matchup. They can do the same thing, but the X-Man's power is a non-destructive way of reaching the same result, which feels very much in keeping with the hero gig. The sequence where Juggy smashes through all the walls of Alcatraz in pursuit of Kitty was the highlight of the trailers, and it was a cool moment in the movie. I also think having Leitch's proximity to Juggernaut be the reason he got knocked out is a great way of dispatching him. He's literally unstoppable, but his one weakness is he's a freaking dumbass. Then of course, there's also one extremely iconic moment in this scene.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
This line walked, so all those internet pandering lines and things like No Way Home,
you know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
and The Flash
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
could run. This was the original internet meme reference ported to a big Hollywood movie, long before studios and mainstream media were more in touch with trying to appease internet trends. So yeah, his face-off with Kitty, me likey. But it is still disappointing he didn't fight any X-Men, because I would have loved to have seen multiple members combining their powers to try and stop his all-powerful momentum. He's one of the toughest henchmen in the whole saga. The one character I was convinced in the lead up to the movie would get a fight with Juggernaut was the most obvious pick in the universe.
Hey, Timmy, come here. How's your throwing arm?
Colossus. For the love of God, Colossus should have gone toe-to-toe with Juggernaut, at the very least before he was sent off to get Leitch. That would have been a badass fight. It annoys me still that the X-Men films kept missing out on matchups in favour of just having the heavies fight Wolverine. Toad was meant to fight Nightcrawler, but it was cut. Colossus and Juggernaut, there's no evidence it was ever on the table, but it's an absolute open goal in my opinion. They're both the great big super strong brawlers of each respective team. Why didn't we see them trade blows? In the final battle for X3, Colossus throws Wolverine and punches exactly 2 guys. That clip I showed you, that's all we get from the Metal Man for the entire battle. When everyone is cut together, it's not as noticeable, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like Colossus wasn't even there. Juggernaut's fate was left unclear, but it's safe to assume he may have been disintegrated by Jean Grey at the movie's climax. For his sake, I hope he survived to keep on doing what he loved, smashing things. Alas, he was never seen again in continuity. Weirdly, I think he would have been a great adversary in X-Men First Class. It would have been a chance to retcon his relationship to Xavier into the franchise. He could have even started out as an X-Man and then joined Magneto's Brotherhood by the end of the movie. Oh wait, I'm just describing Mystique's role in the movie, aren't I? Well, I think it's probably for the best, as I liked what they did with Mystique in that film, although it was super weird to pair her with Xavier, considering that the surrogate sister thing had not been mentioned at all in the previous movies. I don't think they had a single exchange in the previous movies.
We met when we were children, grew up together. She was like a sister to me.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Juggernaut instead was almost part of the sequel, X-Men Days of Future Past. He was actually going to be the mutant Team 70s were going to enlist to break Magneto out of the Pentagon. Not only would this have superseded the awesome and iconic Quicksilver breakout, it would have once again skipped over any meaningful dynamic with Xavier. And the way it would have occurred would have been way less interesting than what we got. Juggy would have been lifted over the Pentagon by helicopter, and then he would smash down to the lower levels to give Magneto an exit. I'm glad this didn't happen, but it turned out that Juggernaut would reappear in a James McAvoy Xavier X-Men movie after all, just not the one you'd be expecting. It wasn't until 2018, a whopping 12 years after his one and only appearance, that the X-Film franchise gave Juggernaut another go.
You know, it has always been a dream of mine to see my face reflected in your helmet as you charge at me with murderous intent. I don't mean right now.
Fortunately for us, this version kicked all kinds of arse.
Whoa! Ah, shit, fucker.
This is where having a CGI character is just way better. Finally, Juggernaut was towering over everyone, his power and speed was finally handled on screen as it was on the page.
Now I'm gonna shove the red guy up the old guy.
This Juggernaut finally looks like he could take on someone like the Hulk. In his very first scene, he literally rips Deadpool in two, which was extremely satisfying to watch, and in no way going into this video without a demonetization sticker.
That is such a Juggernaut thing to say.
His helmet was a perfect translation of his comic book look. I would have loved to have seen the more standard burgundy look, but there's precedent for the grey helmet too, so it's fine.
Let's fuck some shit up is my legal middle name.
Obviously he's quite one-dimensional again, but the fight with Juggernaut at the end was great. He seemed nigh impossible to defeat, an absolute force of nature, just battering X-Force.
Beat it, midget.
Seeing him go toe-to-toe with Colossus was something we'd all waited years for. It's hard to have two CGI characters fighting without it looking silly.
Big CGI fight coming up.
But by framing it the same way the movie frames its live action, it gives it ample weight. It's delightful to watch these two bash each other up, and the little touches like seeing Colossus use a makeshift knuckle duster.
That's right. I'm fighting nothing.
Or Juggy using a bus as a bat make all the difference. Plus, this does exactly what the X3 Wolverine fight didn't. Juggernaut is an intimidating foe who beats the crap out of Colossus, but the latter still gets some good licks in. Seeing him lose a metal tooth is just awesome. In no other movie could Juggy be dispatched by suppository electric cable, but it's a Deadpool movie, so I'm into it. Fun fact, the first time I ever watched Deadpool 2, I was severely jet lagged, and I fell asleep for the final battle only about 10 minutes, but by the time I woke up, I missed the end of the Juggernaut fight. I turned to my friend and asked how he was taken out, and just imagine describing what happened. Oh yeah, well obviously what happened is they shoved an electric cable up his ass.
Up his ass.
It made sense for Juggernaut to be in prison overalls for his appearance, and after getting such a sucky Jugs in the last movie, I think we were all just thankful he was translated this well, and I'm never going to say sucky Jugs again. Still, imagine this version in the iconic burgundy outfit head to toe. I really do wonder if he will pop up in the void during Deadpool and Wolverine, because if so, this look is begging to be translated to the screen.
I am soaking wet right now.
At one point, the fan-forced Fantastic Four were going to appear in Deadpool 2 with all new, much improved costumes. I actually think this would have been a great idea. The meta nature of Deadpool means you could have taken the piss out of their failed first outing while simultaneously making them so much better. And one way that would have happened would have been for this awesome Juggernaut to have a sweet one-on-one with the Thing. Imagine this Thing facing this Juggernaut. I think that would have kicked ass. As it stands, it makes more sense for that fight to ultimately go to Colossus and Team Deadpool. The former earned a new foe, and the latter needed to work together for the finale to work. Still, in another world, I would have loved to have seen what would have become of this extended FF cameo. Vinnie Jones said he didn't want to return for Deadpool and Wolverine because of the makeup process, which is obviously a shame. However, eagle-eyed viewers have noticed what seems to be the Last Stand Juggernaut variant in the latest trailer, which would make sense in spite of Jones, since A, every heavy is pretty much back, and B, it seems the Tyler Mane Sabretooth is back, sans Tyler Mane, so they obviously don't mind just recasting them if they're like a mute heavy. If that's the case, we will probably be getting a strictly non-verbal Juggy, which is a shame because the popularity of Jones is what made it in the first place.
Here's Juggy.
But at the same time, I'll take this over no Last Stand Juggernaut at all. If he does return, I want Wolverine to absolutely eviscerate him to make up for that pitiful performance in their X3 battle. Either that, or the much bigger, better, goated, hulking Juggernaut shows up and kills the old Juggernaut on sight. That would make me laugh.
Here's Juggy.
Juggernaut's place as a heavy in the X-Men films has been solidified, but I'm hoping when all of this gets rebooted properly post-Secret Wars, we get the chance to have Juggernaut's relationship to Xavier explored. We get the chance for him to be mystical, with the Gem of Cyttorak. However, for now, I'd be happy with watching Kane Marco simply tear it up. No pun intended. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy Full Fat videos, then please consider joining the Patreon to support it financially and keep it going. And you can also get a lot of exclusive goodies if you are a fan of The Boys or you just watched the Doctor Who finale. Then I'm dropping the Full Fat podcast again this week where I'll be delving into all of that goodness. And we'll be going through stuff every week, so there should be a podcast every week for every continuous episode of The Boys. And then who knows what else will be out. Maybe we'll watch The Acolyte. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to watch that. As always, a big thank you to TDW Fan and Dr. Chike for keeping the lights on, for being my Full Fat tier patrons. Thank you very much. If you want to get early releases of my videos, or catch up on my latest reviews of Doctor Who, including Dot and Bubble and 73 Yards, then head on over to patreon.com/fullfatvideos.